Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, and I do want to head back out live over here to the Israel-Lebanon border as we do talk about the latest developments in the Israel-Hamas war. I want to bring in Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner with the Israel Defense Forces joining us now live to discuss the latest information here. And Lieutenant Colonel, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us.
Good morning, Josh.
All right, so first off, the first question I want to talk about is some of the latest developments that have happened over the past several hours. We do know that a Hezbollah drone has been shot down, and there have been retaliatory attacks that were carried out by Israel there on Lebanon. Break down for me what the latest details are there.
So indeed, earlier today we've had infiltration by what appears to be unmanned aerial drones, potentially explosive. They were intercepted. It was at least on one occasion intercepted off of the coast in the Mediterranean over our maritime border in northern Israel. Iron Dome intercepted that drone before it was able to do any damage. But I think what is more important, Josh, is this just exemplifies we are experiencing over the last 3 months, actually, as Hezbollah continuously increases its activity, increases its hostility and attacks against Israel.
And I also want to talk about another headline here, the elimination of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad's deputy head of propaganda. I'm going to pop up the image here that was posted by the Israeli Air Force on social media. What can you tell me about that situation and how that played out?
So the Israeli intelligence is operating in order to destroy, hunt down and kill terrorists. And indeed, their propaganda arm is a substantial part of that, because terrorism without an amplifying tool is not terrorism. So the people who are involved in amplifying terrorist actions, those that are amplifying the strife and difficulties of the hostages being held by Hamas, or in this case, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, they are definitely targets. This terrorist, Wael Abu Fanuna, was actually taken out 2 nights ago by our Air Force with a precision strike. This is also, it reflects exactly how we're dismantling Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad's capabilities in this war. Our role is to restore safety and security to the people of Israel, and this is how we're doing it, piece by piece, strike by strike.
We do know there was a call between U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and his counterpart over in Israel, and some of the discussion, we're told, was about how to separate civilians that are there in Gaza from the actual terrorists that are there. What is being done to accomplish that right now? I know that there's been a lot of talk about how to make sure that there is a distinguishing factor there, that there are civilians versus, actual terrorists there.
Our operations are based at focusing our efforts, our war efforts, our ground mobilization, our airstrikes at terrorists. We do that, first of all, by evacuating civilians from harm's way, from getting people who are uninvolved, who are seemingly innocent, out of the combat zone, out of the potential strike zones where we intend on operating. Of course, we are very attentive to our American allies, to our friends across the seas, in order to stand up to that expectation. It is a guiding principle of the IDF, as it is of all Western militaries, to limit civilian casualties in the course of war. It is a war, unfortunately, forced upon us. And indeed, there are civilian casualties which are paying the price of the despicable decision by Hamas to launch this war against us. So we are conducting extensive humanitarian operations, primarily by evacuating people out of harm's way, but also by maintaining and increasing every day the amount of humanitarian medical supplies, food supplies, shelter that is going into Gaza. We're doing it in coordination with the international humanitarian organizations that are operating on the ground. We are increasing those activities day by day because the people of Gaza are not our enemy. Hamas is the enemy.
One thing that a lot of people don't necessarily realize, you hear about the deaths in Gaza, but also that Israeli troops that are out there on the front lines are being killed every day, right?
Josh, 194 Israeli servicemen have been killed in the ground operations since we began this war. They have died in the line of battle, in the defense of the country, in the defense of the people of Israel, and in the attempt to restore safety and security to the people of Israel, to Israelis who have suffered so much because of Hamas's decision. Indeed, it is our role, our goal as the IDF to defend the people of Israel. And that is why we, each and every life lost in this war is a tragedy, whether it's Israeli or Palestinian. Our goal is to restore safety and security to everyone.
The Israel Defense Forces has said that it is exhuming bodies from graves in Han Yunis to check for hostages and their remains. What can you tell me about that?
Well, first of all, we wouldn't be in this situation if it wasn't for Hamas abducting 240 people, and now they remain, 136 of them remain in the clutches of these terrorist organizations in Gaza. So, of course, when there is intelligence that potentially identifies that there could be bodies of Israelis in Gaza, then we need to operate on that. The operations are conducted with, I would say, with both an understanding and also respect to the potential bodies. We need to take them out of the area in order to investigate and determine the identity. If the identities are not clear or come back conclusively not as Israelis, then of course they're brought back respectfully in a respectful manner to the Gaza Strip. This is just the reality of this war, a war that Hamas forced upon us, and in their atrocious act of abducting Israelis, dead or alive, they've had to put them somewhere. And so, of course, this is just another part of the sad reality of this war that we need to address and try to bring home the hostages, dead or alive, and those that were killed by Hamas, murdered, and then snatched away as bodies. We need to find them, and we need to bring them home as well.
And we heard from a Hezbollah official earlier on today who essentially said that Israel is not ready for a war of this caliber between Israel and the terrorist group Hezbollah. What are your thoughts on that as part of the IDF there? I would imagine you might disagree.
That, Josh, is probably the understatement of the century. The IDF has a huge operational military defense capability. Less than half of our Air Force are operating in and around Gaza. We have reservists on call, prepared to mobilize if required. We're not looking for that battle, but we are definitely prepared. The IDF Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, has been up north this week. We are prepared, making the necessary operational plans in order to be prepared for that eventuality. I think the idea today is that Hezbollah need to be distanced from the border in accordance with the UN Security Resolution 1701. They should not have any weapons, any capabilities in the south of Lebanon. They have breached that UN Security Council resolution thousands of times, and even in the last 3 months, over 1,000 rockets 80 anti-tank guided missiles, sniper fire, rocket fire have been fired across the border, jeopardizing the sanctity and the safety and security of Israel. But more importantly, I would say to Hezbollah, look very, very carefully how we are dismantling and destroying Hamas. And I would say, perhaps on a broader level, to the government of Lebanon, Hezbollah could potentially draw all of Lebanon into a crisis. It would be detrimental for the people of Lebanon. The government of Lebanon needs to take control. They need to make sure that this doesn't happen. We are focused, I think the government of Israel now is focused on diplomacy, but the military is definitely preparing for a fight if required.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner with the IDF, thank you so much as always for taking the time to join us here. Anything you want to add before I let you go?
This is a reality, and we're now over 3 months, Josh. I've been a frequent guest with you. I think that what is important for your viewers to understand that Israel is determined to restore safety and security to its people. We can't accept that the way Hamas conducted its terrorism, the way it operates beneath hospitals, in schools, cannot become the new norm of terrorism around the world. And that is why we are fighting for our security, but more importantly, to make sure that this type of threat can never be realized again on our borders. We need to keep that in mind at every step of this war in order to bring safety and security to all of the people of the region.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel, thank you again for taking the time to join us and help answer some of the questions that a lot of people do have. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh. Good day.
All right, everybody, I do want to take you out to this post on X or Twitter, depending on what you call it. This is from the Israel War Room, and it does show some of the video of what we were talking about there with the attack. Obviously, Hezbollah attacking Israel and then Israel attacking Lebanon, some of those Hezbollah locations there. The IDF saying a short while ago, IDF systems identified a UAV that crossed from Lebanon into the maritime area of northern Israel. The Iron Dome aerial defense system successfully intercepted that target. And a short while ago, IDF fighter jets struck launch posts, military compounds, and other locations there over in Lebanon.